Narrative text and writing. A narrative is a way of presenting connected events in order to tell a good story. Whether it's a narrative essay, a biography, or a novel, a narrative unites distinct events by concept, idea, or plot. Common types of narratives normally contain a beginning, middle, and an end. Narratives have been around since the beginning of storytelling, from folk tales to ancient poetry. There are four types of narratives: linear narratives, nonlinear narratives, quest narratives, viewpoint narratives. A linear narrative presents the events of the story in order in which they actually happened. This can be accomplished through a narrative perspective, first person narration, second person narration, or third person narration. Linear narratives immerse the reader in the daily life of the protagonist, as the reader watches the events of the character's life unfold in chronological or time order. A nonlinear narrative presents the events of the story out of order, using flashback and other literary devices to shift the chronology of the story. A short story, novella, or novel may break up the timeline of the story in order to emphasize the emotional mindset of a personal narrative or make thematic connections between events. A quest narrative is a story in which the protagonist works tirelessly towards a goal. The pursuit of this goal likely becomes their all consuming passion, and they must face seemingly insurmountable obstacles along the way. Typically, this object of their pursuit is geographically remote, and the character must go on a long journey to obtain it. Viewpoint narratives are designed to express the points of view or subjective personal experience of the main character or other fictional characters in the story. In viewpoint narrative writing, moods, feelings, or other sensory details are filtered through the narrator's own life and subjective point of view. This narrative style often takes the form of first person or third person omniscient narration, in which the omniscient narrator switches between the points of view and private thoughts of multiple central characters. This type of narrative allows for the possibility of an unreliable narrator, in which the person telling the story presents information in an untrustworthy manner. The unreliable narrator is either deliberately deceptive, like a noted liar or trickster, or unintentionally misguided, like a middle schooler who may not fully understand the events taking place. This forces the reader to question their credibility as a storyteller. It's easy to think that narrative structure and narrative technique mean the same thing when they sound so similar, but they don't. It's best to think of a narrative structure as the overall blueprint for a house, whereas narrative techniques are the individual bricks used to build a house. Structure is fundamentally about your plan for the story and the different elements that you'll be using to create that content. Everything works together to form the bigger picture. Of the four types of narrative structure, the most common is linear, where the story moves from beginning to end in chronological order. If you think about some of your favorite books and even films, a typical linear structure will follow a pattern of 5 acts, otherwise known as Freytag's pyramid. We also call it the plot diagram. Freytag's pyramid, or the plot diagram, includes these 5 sections: the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the resolution. When thinking about how we define narrative technique, these are the different pieces that are used within this structure to help us get to the finish line and make the reader's journey more complex or interesting. Stay tuned for the next video where we go in detail on Freytag's pyramid, better known as the plot diagram.